With that being said, it's 12:05, so let's get started. I got to find my gavel. Welcome to the Rotary Club in Nordonia Hills. I'm Steve Baczynski, the president. Welcome, everybody. John, could you give us an invocation, please?
Sure. Let's all be in a humble spirit of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this gorgeous day. Thank you for this equinox that starts the beginning of our shorter days and the ending of summer. Thank you for this fellowship. Thank you for the Rotary fellowships that enhance international understanding. Bless the food that we're going to eat during this meeting. Give us the strength to follow your will. We ask these things in your holy name, O God. Amen.
Amen. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Debbie, could you put a flag up? And I can even try and show the flag here. Thank you. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Our guest today, we have Michelle Wilson. Thank you for joining us, Michelle. We appreciate it. She's our speaker for today. Does anybody else have some guests that are in the background that we don't see? Joe, you don't have your dog?
I've got to go check on him, though. He's home alone. So after the meeting, I got to run home and make sure he's doing okay.
You can always call Debbie. She'll check on him for you.
Oh, that's a good idea. I have a dog sitter right across the street.
That's right. Rebel and her can go right over there. Okay. I didn't go over the whole list, but I don't think Casey's here. So I will do the Today in History. The biggest thing today in history is Abraham Lincoln issues the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, which sets a date for the freedom of more than 3 million slaves in the United States. That date was set for the January 1st. That's the big thing that happened today. In 1776, American Captain Nathaniel Hale is hanged as a spy by the British in New York City. His last words, does anybody know what his last words were?
I didn't do it. That's what they all say.
Give me liberty or give me death.
That's close. Well, that's a good one, but you'll remember this one too. I only regret that I have but one life to give for my country. So that's a good one. 1961, President John F. Kennedy signs a congressional act establishing the Peace Corps. For your sports fans, Willie Mays of the San Francisco Giants becomes the first baseball player since Babe Ruth to hit 600 home runs. And for you bicyclists, bicycle makers Charles and Frank Duryea show off the first American-made automobile produced for sale to the public by taking it on a maiden run through the streets of Springfield, Massachusetts. So the first automobile in the United States was made by bicycle manufacturers. And that's what I have today in history. Anybody else have any facts that they would like to share with us? Okay. Rotary birthdays. September 19th, Vern Rudder. Coming up September 27th will be Joe Clark. Happy birthday, Joe. And Debbie Zitlow is also this 27th. So we will be celebrating that also next week. And spouse birthdays, September 23rd, Josh Hayes' wife, Teresa. So happy birthday to her. Is there any birthdays or anniversaries that I'm forgetting? Because I think I didn't print up the second page of this. Yes, please, John.
Tomorrow is my wife and my anniversary.
I knew there was another one, John, and happy anniversary. Like I said, I had a second page that I did not bring up here with me. So happy anniversary, John.
Thank you.
And how many years?
How many years, John? Did you say 43?
No, I said, I was just kidding. 48.
48. Congratulations again. Okay, humor of the day. Mr. Conkle, do you have something to make us laugh? Nope, you gotta unmute yourself, Dave. There you go.
We got two short ones for you today, Steve. The
Perfect.
first one, does anybody consider it wrong that only one company makes the game Monopoly? And a second one, women sometimes make fools of men, but most guys are the do-it-yourself type.
I like that one. Thank you, Dr. Conkle. Any happy dollars? Carl Oriente, can you?
Who's got some happy dollars?
Well, I'm happy that Michelle Wilson decided to join us today. Thank you for joining us. There's my happy dollar. Thanks, Michelle.
I'll have to Venmo $1, but I have one. My son got engaged. My oldest son popped the question, and they'll be getting married next fall sometime, October, November.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
I have a happy dollar. My newspaper came out this week, and for the first time, we're 16 pages.
Wow.
So I would like to thank the local businesses that made it all possible.
Congratulations, Julie. Anybody else?
Julie, where can you pick up those papers now?
Mark's, Peppers, Giant Eagle, CVS, both CVS's, Walgreens. I'm going to be getting them out today. I just picked them up last night. Those are the main places. But there's actually lots of places that have them too. So they will
Okay,
be
thank
out
you.
later. All the places I mentioned, they'll be out by the end of today.
Julie, you still can bring them by the store. We'd love to have you put a stack there if you like to.
Yeah, well, Latif, your store is one of the stores that also carries them. Yeah, sometimes it takes me a couple days to get to all the locations. But yes, Latif is also a wonderful spot to pick them up. And, you can pick up a lettuce wrap sub while you're there. Those are my favorite.
Thank you. Okay, with that being said, I would like to introduce our featured speaker today. We have Michelle Wilson. Michelle is a financial advisor that specializes in socially responsible investments in Athens, Ohio. She was one of the instigators in getting the first LGBT fellowship at Rotary International established. She is a current president of that group, and today she will be speaking about how that group was started and where they are now. Please join me in welcoming Michelle Wilson. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. So let me know when you guys can see the screen. I want to start by thanking Paige for inviting me. She was in my Rotary Club in Athens, and we were really sorry to see her go. So I'm glad to see that she's very involved where she's at and helping pick speakers. I thought that was really nice. So today I'm going to talk about the LGBT Rotary Fellowship. That's our logo down at the bottom. I think that's actually the only time I have it in here, so I'm point that out. I'll start with who I am. My name is Michelle Wilson. I own Athens Impact Socially Responsible Investments, and I put my website on there if anybody wants to look that up. I'm a financial planner and specialize in ethical investing, and I live in a cabin in the woods. It was absolutely a choice to move out here. I grew up in a big city, and this is just, I watched people save money to go out in the country and retire, and I thought, why wouldn't I just do that now? So I'm really happy where I'm at. I grew up in South Korea as a conservative evangelical missionaries kid. The labels that I choose now are pansexual, polyamorous, female identified cisgender woman, and I use the pronouns she and her. I am the founding and current president of the LGBT Rotary Fellowship. So I put this slide in here because one of the things the fellowship is doing is coming up with materials, a lot of just really basic materials for clubs who want to have topics like LGBT topics presented. And so I have this slide for, if we have, confidentiality is important or any rules like that. And just to kind of tell you that this is one of the things we're working on right now is presentation materials. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about who we are as a fellowship. I'm going to talk for a minute about what fellowships are, how we got started, where we're headed, and how you can get involved. So starting out with who we are, our fellowship bylaws, we wrote out exactly who we were when we designed our fellowship, and so we're going to talk about that. I do want to mention that there's more to LGBT and that than just gay men and lesbian women, and those are the only two symbols on this screen, but that just is the limitations of what I had to make the slides. It's a much bigger and more diverse group. We actually have somebody on our board who is a polygamist who lives in India. Because Rotary represents so many different cultures, there's a lot of different ways that LGBT can look around the world. So I wanted to acknowledge that on the slide. So the purpose of the Rotary Fellowship is to promote global friendships, service, and education with a goal of ending discrimination against LGBT+ people and realizing a world that achieves fundamental fairness and equality for all. So this is our purpose as a Rotary Fellowship. And the name of the fellowship is actually the LGBT RAF, and that stands for the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Rotarians and Friends. So the people who can join are active Rotarians, partners and spouses, family members, Rotaractors, Rotary alumni, any program participants. And we wanted this to be really wide open because this is not just a group of lesbian and gay people in Rotary. This is about people who are trying to promote equality around the world and friendships and make sure people are treated equally. So we have allies in our group and anybody is absolutely welcome to join. In fact, it's really nice to have the perspective of allies in the group. It helps us to put together more balanced material. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in getting involved to get involved because it's helpful, especially with the gap in it, with the differences in the way people perceive this topic. And so somebody who's part of the diversity activism groups and taking those classes in college may have a really different perspective from somebody who knows a gay person. And we want to be able to reach everybody and be able to be friendly to everybody. And so it's really important to have a broad group of people in our fellowship. So I want to talk a minute about what a fellowship is. Rotary International has a lot of subgroups that you can be part of. And fellowships are one kind. They also have action groups. And it's very important that I differentiate between a fellowship and an action group. And I do this on purpose because there is a pretty big difference. So a fellowship is an independent social group that shares a common passion. And I'll talk a little bit more in a little bit about some of the other fellowships Rotary has. If you're just at a local club, sometimes you don't realize that these groups exist. But when you go to Rotary International conferences and things like that, then you start to see more of them because it's a connection of people around the world. Action groups are groups that share expertise and collaborate with clubs on service projects. So for instance, there's an AIDS action group to help end AIDS around the world, whereas a fellowship is just people who have something in common. It's a social group. Rotary is a non-political and non-religious organization. And as a matter of policy, Rotary does not take positions on public questions, including political or international issues. And this is very important. The reason we're set up as a fellowship is because we're acknowledging, yes, there are LGBT people in Rotary. Yes, it is important for us to be loving and caring of everybody in Rotary. But we're not trying to make a political stand. One of the things, a problem this could cause Rotary, if we were trying to do that, is it could cause them problems getting into countries to provide disease preventing aid. So that's the reason we are set up as a fellowship. And for people who are involved in the LGBT activism, I explain that to them to help them understand why we are working to build friendships, provide education resources, and work together for service. That's our goals. And what we're trying to do is end discrimination against LGBT people and realize a world that achieves fundamental fairness and equality for all. And honestly, through building friendships, I think those other things kind of naturally happen. At least that's my view on it. So how we got started. I am pretty new to Rotary. 2017 was my first international convention, and it was in Atlanta. So I very excitedly went to Atlanta, and they had a workshop called Everybody is Welcome. And I didn't know, because I'm very new to Rotary, that this was the first time that had happened. So we have a Rotary convention with tens of thousands of people, and this is the first time they had a session on a breakout called Everybody is Welcome. So the room was crammed full of people. They were blocking the door because they didn't want it to be a fire hazard. And they had a panel of speakers. One of the people on the panel is the person I talked about, who's on our board, who's a polygamist from India. And they were talking about how everybody is welcome at Rotary. And I had just learned about fellowships, and so I had walked around, and because I saw this earlier in the week, I'd seen this program, and I was looking around, I saw all these fellowships. I saw a fellowship for cigar smokers. I saw a fellowship for people who own motorcycles, and one for people who own yachts. I saw, the wine drinkers fellowship. I saw the fellowship of people who, have foreign exchange students. It was just really, there's a fellowship for everything at Rotary. And so I thought, oh, great. So let me go find the LGBT fellowship. And I walked around and walked around and walked around, and I couldn't find anything. And I thought, that's ridiculous. There are so many people in Rotary. There has to be some kind of LGBT group somewhere. I mean, if you get together because you drink wine, why wouldn't there be an LGBT group? So I started looking online, and what I found was there wasn't anything like that at Rotary. So when this event happened, this breakout session, I went in and asked a question at the end. And I said, I'm pretty new to Rotary, and I have looked everywhere, and I can't find an LGBT fellowship anywhere in Rotary. So there's two reasons I can think of that could happen. One, either Rotary doesn't want that to happen and they're not allowing us to have one, or we should start one. I mean, like either they're not allowing it, or we just haven't started it, so we need to start one. And I said, and if anybody wants to start one, I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. We had a standing ovation. One of the person who was president before me started a Facebook page in the room during that thing. And then we started doing research on what do we do? Because we had a stack of business cards this big at the end of that breakout session of people who were interested. So we started to look, and we found we needed to have representatives from multiple countries. We need to have bylaws. There's an approval process. And if we're turned down, we have to wait 3 years. So it was very, very important that we got this correct. We worked with the Whiskey Fellowship, which was a newer fellowship, to use their bylaws kind of as a guide. And the Rotary International staff was extremely helpful in helping us with policies. Like, one policy is our presidential terms are 2 years. And the reason we did that is to provide stability at the beginning of an organization. And that was one of the things that Rotary International suggested. So we had a lot of help from the staff, and we submitted our application, and we were waiting, and we went to Rotary International Convention the next year. And that was, we started out with 66 charter members representing 5 countries. So we felt like we did pretty well. These are the people who started out. And then we went to the Toronto the Toronto convention. And we found out when we were at the Toronto convention that we were turned down and we were going to have to wait 3 years to start a new LGBT fellowship. We were very unhappy. You know, there were people saying, I'm going to go on Oprah. And, you know, I was so frustrated. I felt like, you know, maybe Rotary doesn't want an LGBT group in their fellowships. So, you know, but what happened is we contacted Rotary and we said, we really want to understand, like, how did we get turned down? We did everything right. We had staff help in writing the bylaws, like, what happened? And what they have found out is there is how fellowships get approved totally depends on what little committee happens to be looking at it at the time. And the definitions about what a fellowship is were not consistent from one committee to the other. So Rotary International went, whoa, we don't know how you got turned down. It doesn't make sense that you got turned down. And they called a vote. They got some very important people involved and committees involved, and they changed their policy, reevaluated our fellowship, and approved us. So the reason I tell this story is because this tells me that Rotary did feel like this is important. Rotary felt like this group, recognizing that there are LGBT people in Rotary, was important. And that makes me real happy. I took the Rotary International diversity policy off the website. As a global network that strives to build a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change, Rotary values diversity and celebrates the contributions of people of all backgrounds, regardless of their age, ethnicity, race, color, abilities, religion, socioeconomic status, culture, sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Rotary will cultivate a diverse, equitable, and inclusive culture in which people from underrepresented groups have greater opportunity to participate as members and leaders. So that's the Rotary diversity policy. They've taken the time to put sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity in there. So I do think this is something that they are working and striving towards. So I'll go back to talking about our fellowship, where we're headed. And we now have 216 members from 25 countries, and we have not advertised at all. That's people who have looked us up and found us, especially because we weren't even able to do breakout sessions at Rotary International this year. This is just what has happened. Our board now has 11 members representing 7 countries on it. It makes meetings extremely challenging as far as timing and making sure everybody is somewhat within waking hours. We've got somebody who gets up at 5 in the morning to come to a meeting and somebody who's on at 11 o'clock at night, but we've got it where we're able to have board meetings. But it's really nice to have those perspectives from all those different countries. Oh no, I don't know what happened to the rest of my presentation. Here it is. So what we've done is we've expanded the board. We started out with 5 people, we now have 11. We created a consistent time that we're able to have our meetings, which we didn't have at first. We created a framework to soundly run the team and to audit the books. We have a good financial committee set up. We began charging dues at the beginning of this year, and we're creating a club pen and to send out to the people who have paid dues, and we wrote a strategic plan. We have put together some committees to work towards the goals in our strategic plan, and we are updating our marketing and website to represent where we're headed. So this is where we're at right now. Right now we have an education committee meeting. They put together resources like this one. We're currently putting together a little, I think it's just going to be like a little presentation for Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is November 20th. We have a service standing committee, and we're looking for partners to do projects with. We have a friendship committee, and we have one-on-one events. Right now, a lot of them are on Zoom, but we've got, you know, happy hours, and then we've actually got that in 3 different languages now, and ways just to get to know each other. Then we still have a group working on some marketing things since we're getting started, and the executive plan, obviously. We're also working on a certification program for clubs who want to be involved so that they can go through a process and say, we are making an effort to be a welcoming club. So that's one of the things we're working on as well. So imagine where we can go from here. I feel like we've done a whole lot in the last few years, and we're still very much in our infancy as a group. So how you can get involved, you can join us. You can get on our website and on our social media just by searching Rotary LGBT. Our website is rotarylgbt.org. There is something to think about, though. In some countries, people can be killed for being LGBT. So we do have to be very careful. So we have a public Facebook presence and a private Facebook presence. So the way to join is a little bit complicated right now. You click on the link either on the website or the Facebook page that says join us, and you fill out the Google information form, and then you send us a message that says I filled out the form. And if I'm monitoring the page, I'll have you friend me, and then I can add you to the private group. And we do that to protect the people in the countries where they cannot openly be out. We're also looking at a third-party platform right now that we're going to be moving to soon. So this is what we have right now. We also have a lot of member events scheduled right now, just to get to know each other and have some collaboration. I mean, a lot of what we're doing is about building friendships and networks. So you can learn more about us at rotarylgbt.org. And once again, feel free to join our pages on social media. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I appreciate it. Just another proof that how diverse Rotary really is, and that doesn't matter who you are. If you want to help the world be a better place, please join us. So thank you, Michelle. Does anybody have any questions for Michelle?
Yes. How many fellowships are there in Rotary altogether?
Honestly, I am not sure. I do know that's on the Rotary website, and there are a lot. That's the reason I was surprised there wasn't an LGBT one, because there are so many. And I'm also a member of the motorcycle one and the gin drinkers one. I mean, why not? You know, it's fun because you have some interaction with Rotarians from around the world throughout the year that you wouldn't otherwise have. And anybody can join in Rotary.
I'm in the scouting one, so.
Nice.
I had a question. For your board meetings, does everybody speak English?
Yes. Yes. But they I mean, obviously they also speak other languages, and we just rolled out, we're having a happy hour in Portuguese and one in Spanish. We have a board member who speaks Spanish, and for those who don't know, those languages are similar. But we have had so much interest from South America. I've actually gone and spoken at a few clubs down there on Zoom, that everything's in other languages. But they're so excited about this club because they're not allowed to be out and open where they're at, or it could affect their jobs or things like that. I mean, it doesn't hurt their lives, but it can affect them in a lot of ways. So so to be able to be in a group where they're just openly welcomed in Rotary, I think is a really big deal. So we're expanding out to include those two languages because there's been such a big request in those areas.
Anybody else have any questions?
So I don't have any questions. I just want to say I think it's very cool that it's international. That really impresses me. And that's such a wonderful idea. Like you said, so many aren't able to come out. And they have a safe place here with Rotary. So I think that's very cool.
Thank you. And that's absolutely, I think, what we're trying to build is we're trying to make people feel like Rotary is safe. And then we hope the clubs know how to make sure it's safe. So that's when we say education, that's really what it's about, is helping clubs be safe and inclusive and be safe places for people who are already there. Because, you know, I know people who are in Rotary who are in the closet, and I feel like our club who are in the closet at Rotary and not necessarily other places. And I feel like, you know, our clubs need to feel welcoming so people can be themselves at the club.
Well, apparently they do, because it seems like your fellowship has grown tremendously in the short time that you've, how many members did you say you had now?
216.
That's just around the world. So it just goes to show you that it was needed, and Rotary welcomed everybody. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thanks again, Michelle, and you're more than welcome to stay with us. We're going to go over some of our club stuff, but if you have somewhere to go, you're more than welcome to leave. But everyone give Michelle a hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
With that being said, I have a couple announcements that I'd like to make, and one of the biggest ones is our fellow Rotarian John Graves has been issued a Paul Harris Fellowship +6 award pin just recently. So please congratulate John Graves on that for his dedication to the Paul Harris Fellowship. Congratulations, John. Shoebox program. We did a great job with the shoebox program. Everyone that was involved in that, we filled 20 shoeboxes and got them shipped out last week. So that was a nice accomplishment for our club. Thank you very much for everyone involved with that.
Hey, Steve, I kind of thought of this a little bit too late, but I already mentioned it to Office Max. I thought maybe next year they would like to participate with us and maybe provide the school supplies needed for the 20 boxes. And I
Okay.
talked to the manager there, and she's like, well, if we can get the information to her ahead of time, you know, she can run it by corporate. But, you know, I think it would be like an easy thing for them to do and something that they would like to do. It's kind of like a nice thing.
Yeah, yeah. I marked that down. Thanks for the tip, Julie. We'll definitely alert them, and I'll have you involved with that, and we'll bring it up to them. Yeah, and it's not a very expensive thing to do for them to supply some school supplies. So,
Right, exactly.
right. Thanks for bringing that up. As mentioned, Dave Fike is working on our candidates for next month. So he'll keep you posted on that. We have the dictionary project coming up. This is the time of year that John did it last year. So I started looking into it. Joe Clark's going to help head this up. So I appreciate you offering to do that, Joe. So anybody that wants to get involved with Joe and I on that, we're going to start launching that next week and get these things on order. Joe, I'll forward you over how many we ordered last year, and that'll give us a good idea on how many students you have and how many we should order this year. All right. So that's a good thing that we're going to keep going this year.
I have a question about the dictionaries. How you're going to get them to the kids who are learning from home? Have like a pickup time or?
Yeah, and that's something that Joe and I will be discussing real soon here. It could be as simple as a drive-by at the school.
Right,
You have a comment on that, Joe?
No, I think a drive-by is possible, or mailing them to them, honestly, would be something we could do.
Okay, all right. I'm going to have all the dictionaries, as we did last year, shipped here to Specialty Lubricants. As we get into this and have them on order, Joe can start getting comments from the teachers and the faculty and staff, the best way for us to distribute these. So, but we'll make sure we get them to everybody. Okay. Let's see, next week, September 29th, we have Hannah Miller. She is a student at the Ohio University. She's a medical school student. Also a cancer survivor, and she's going to talk about Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So that should be very interesting. Please make sure you make it next week to hear Hannah Miller speak. And October 6th after that, we have Linda Chris, VP of Communication at the Akron Zoo that we discussed. And Dave also said he had another candidate lined up for that. Who'd you say you had, Dave?
14th congressional representatives. It'd be 2 people. We have an invite right now out to David Joyce and Hillary O'Connor Muir.
Okay.
Only one response back from Hillary's assistant, but has not been committed yet.
Okay. So that should be excellent to start off the month. So Dave will keep working on that. Our virtual craft beer festival, as the mayor talked about last week, it looks like that's put on hold for a year. We're going to try and participate in it as much as we can to keep our following going. but it's not going to be much of a fundraiser as it was last year. So we'll have to continue talking about some kind of fundraiser for the for this fall to generate some more funds, since we're going to lose that one. We also have this Friday, we have a board meeting. So we'll discuss that a little further at the board meeting. So anybody that wants to join our board meeting at noon, you're more than welcome. Debbie will be sending out a Zoom invite for that. I believe that's it. Does anybody else have anything to add? Okay. Bear with me, I'm trying to find my four-way test. I may have to just move aside and look at the one behind me because I can't seem to find it on my screen. Bear with me for a second, if you would.
You should know it by heart by now, Steve.
Oh, I know. Well, I do, but I'm not sure if everybody else does.
Good call, good call.
Okay. I can't even get back to my screen now. Okay, looks like we're just gonna have to wing it here, because I can't find it.
I can see it right behind your head.
Okay, here we go. I'll pull it a little closer. All right, everyone, please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First is the truth. Second is a fair to all concerned. Third will build goodwill and better friendship. Fourth will be beneficial to all concerned. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Meeting is adjourned. And hope everyone can make it this Friday to our board meeting. Have a great day. Enjoy your lunch.